The ANC is marking its 110th birthday tomorrow. Party President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver his 5th January 8th statement. The question we're asking tonight is, what can ordinary South Africans expect from this year's statement, particularly as the party is working on its renewal? Well, to help us answer that, we're joined now by political analysts. We've got Professor Sethulego Matebesi joining us as well. Prof, thank you so much for your time this evening. Let's talk a little bit about this January 8th statement 2022. Are we to anticipate anything different from the African National Congress? And that is just simply a review of what happened in 2021. I actually was looking at some of the promises made in 2021. Can we expect anything different?
Hi, good evening, Faith, and good evening to South Africans. We cannot look forward to anything different. We should remember that in terms of the State of the Nation address, the January 8th statement, we've got what we could call a framework. Issues that the president will definitely ventilate will be issues such as local governance, issues such as support to the economy, issues such as the fight against COVID-19. Those are standard issues. But remember also the January 8th statement comes at a backdrop a couple of days after the release of the State Capture Commission report. So definitely the president will have to focus on that. And I will be surprised if the president will also not focus yet once again on what transpired in July 2021, the so-called KZN and Gauteng protest, which had a huge impact on the African National Congress and also perhaps eroded investor confidence in the country. So those are a few issues that I strongly believe that the president will focus on. But for me, I don't think there's anything new or very exciting that the president can, take South Africans into confidence with.
Well, most of the time, and what we've also been hearing from many analysts, Professor, is that it would have been wonderful for the African National Congress to actually give feedback on what's been accomplished as opposed to what are the objectives this time around, to be able to give an account and say, actually, since the last January 8th statement, this is the amount of jobs that we've managed to create. This is how much reskilling we've done for young people. When it comes to the issue of land, though Section 25 and we struggle with the amendment, but this is the solution we've had in that regard. Are we ever going to see that kind of progress report as opposed to these are the new promises that we've got for you on the table this time around?
Well, I'm going to differ slightly with what some of the commentators have stated. Well, in the past, you can look at the State of the Nation address, the January 8th statement. To a certain extent, the president will definitely speak about achievements of the government of the African National Congress over the past year. But perhaps where I think there are some challenges, it's definitely the issue about jobs that have been created. And here we don't refer to, temporary jobs. We talk about decent job opportunities that have been created. And I strongly believe that is where the African National Congress has been, wanting when it comes to the January 8th statement. And I don't see anything will definitely change tomorrow with the speech that will be delivered by the president. But also very significantly, this comes at a time where the African National Congress is bleeding. And to a large extent, the president will once again talk about the fight against corruption. But for me, the African National Congress need to go back to the basics. And a basic thing, if we talk about renewal, is that we can only talk about having consolidated our democracy when the ANC, and I'm talking about the chief executive officer of the country, the president, does not tolerate where 1 rand is spent where there is no evidence, unaccounted expenditure. I mean, it is for me in a post-democratic country. We're almost 30 years away from celebrating our democratic dispensation, but yet we've got more than 150 billion of unaccounted expenditure. That for me is the elephant in the room, and I don't think we will get any significant a progress report on that particular matter.
Well, speaking of which, I mean, with the ANC in itself, many would argue that how does the president of the African National Congress speak about the renewal of the African National Congress objectively if he himself has been part of the problem for decades on end, right? He's not necessarily removed from the ANC. He's not just joining the ANC in the past 2 years and deciding to uphold this renewal project. He's been part of it the whole time. And if anything, more than anything, how is it that you can uproot any form of rot from a place that you yourself were a part with? And once you're a part of something for a long time, one wonders, can you completely be different to what you've been a part of?
No, well, that's typical of the African National Congress. I mean, the issues of corruption have not started with the ascending to power of President Cyril Ramaphosa, and the whole issue of consequence management. The ANC, more than 110 years, or at least 110 years, celebrating that. That should be an organization which is setting the tone in terms of governance on the African continent. And even in the world, we had world, global icons. I mean, just recently, the passing of Desmond Tutu, we had Nelson Mandela. The whole world actually looked up to them. And what the African National Congress has to do with its leaders, it's to do, once again, the basics. Irrespective of who is involved, when disciplinary action has to be taken, we should not wait 6 months or who is involved. And unfortunately, this is what is happening within the African National Congress. Earlier, I also listened to a clip on the ANC Youth League. We can't even talk about an ANC Youth League, which I strongly believe that it's one of the most dysfunctional units within the African National Congress, and this dysfunctionality has been created by its own senior leaders. And these are the challenges that I refer to that is currently haunting the African National Congress. Yes, to a certain extent, I strongly believe that the president of the African National Congress is also conflicted to a certain extent. But fact of the matter is, he is the leader of the African National Congress. And if he wants to revive and fight corruption, that does not necessarily mean he does not have to do that, even if he is also facing some personal challenges within the African National Congress and from other angles within the South African public.
Well, as my colleagues, Faith Mangope would refer to this time around the African National Congress as its city season within the ANC, obviously ahead of its elective conference as well later on in the year. Professor Sethulego Matebesi, Associate Professor for Sociology at the University of the Free State, we thank you for your time.